One of those days. One of those days, Ben.
It really is.
Let's get it going.
Whew.
Here we go. Here we go. Where are we at? Where? Oh, here we go. All right. Now we're rocking. Glad to be with you. It's the Game Plan Show. Ben. Dave Lochran and Ben Rasa. It's Sunday morning, 10:54. Getting a little bit of an early start. Not as early as prior because we don't have 13 games today, Ben, which is actually kind of nice. We've got 11, not 13. Glad
it's
to be
huge.
with
you would think, yeah, 2 games it all feels the same. It really doesn't. It makes it so much easier to break these down.
Sunday morning.
I like this. I prefer the 10 and 11 game slates.
Not as early as prior because we don't have 13 games.
We're getting to that final countdown, final stretch of the season here.
It's huge. Glad to have all you guys with us. Thanks for tuning in.
It really doesn't. It makes it so much easier to break
I love that one of the first things I see in chat is any Isaiah McKenzie love if both Bills RBs are out. This is something you had mentioned before the show started. There's going to be a lot of those type of questions.
It's huge.
Glad to have all you guys scenarios on
today's slate. It really is. Yeah, these are guys.
I love that one of the
didn't really know he existed.
I like
this. Until recently.
Any Isaiah McKenzie love.
We're going to get there because it's certainly a realistic question. Final countdown.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of those type of questions. What do you say we dive right into it?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Somebody said there's an echo.
I don't hear one. Do you?
No, but there's more than one person saying it. Let's see. All right, hold on. Relax, fellas. Relax. Yeah, I don't have any echo.
Neither do I.
But
extra
it's
good.
really bad. Hold on. We'll start the video and start over. Unless I feel like I'm on acid. We're good. We're good. All right. All right. Appreciate that, fellas. Appreciate it. Sounds like demons, he said.
That's amazing.
Oh God. I don't know why that happens. I got no echo here.
No.
But I mean, I believe them. I don't think they're lying to us, you know? So, all right, it's gone. We're good to go. Appreciate you guys letting us know. That definitely helps. All right, let's jump right into it. Sounds like demons.
That's
all right, Ben. Yeah, that's a hell of a way to explain it. Chicago and Green Bay. First game here on the docket. We've got, by the way, if you're talking about 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. games, you've got 9 1 p.m. games and only 2 4 p.m. games on this slate. That makes things a little bit different as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is not one, if you can hold through, if you have some teams, you could survive. A lot of times when it's 5 games in the back, the slate hasn't even begun. But
yeah, like last week.
Yeah, like last week. Exactly. So this is definitely a different layout.
It is. You've got the Bears 5-point favorites here at home against the Packers, a 46.5-point total. Another thing, by the way, is when you look at the totals on this slate, and I promise we're going to get into it right now, but there are a few things that are strange about this. There's only one game on this 11 gamer, I think over 50 the last time I looked, right? I think there's only one game on this entire slate that's over 50, which definitely also makes it, one game. There's one game. It's 54 points for New England and Pittsburgh, and then 46.5 for this game, which is the next highest total.
Yeah, I mean, we get into December, the cold weather outdoors, a lot of the totals do come down. But that's, we were seeing several games each week in the 50s. So that's something to take note. This is an interesting one. I mean, in Chicago, obviously the Bears, they're a good team. Their defense is great. I'm sure they want to, all the times the Packers have ended them. This is one I'm sure they want to get. It's just tough to attack from a DFS standpoint, in my opinion. I didn't get to Aaron Rodgers ultimately. I wanted to make room for him. It was just, even though he's sub 6K on DraftKings, I had trouble getting there. The one guy, I could see the argument for Randall Cobb. He's coming back. He looked good last week. Has the Bears number. Not that that's too important, but that's really all I have from the Green Bay side.
Yeah, I don't know how much I have from either side. It's not a game that I have much interest in. And like, again, one of the reasons too, with some of these lower totals, you've got no Saints on this slate. You've got no Chiefs. You've got no Rams. There's a lot of teams that that put up a lot of points and aren't on this slate. So I mean that obviously has a whole lot to do with it. But yeah, I don't want to harp on it. I just think it is something to talk about because, and even like the Bucks who have been involved in high total games recently because they're so bad defensively but have a decent enough offense. They're playing the Ravens, and that Ravens defense is probably going to slow them down quite a bit. So
yeah,
we'll get into that. But yeah, with this game, I just don't know where I feel comfortable going. I mean, if Allen Robinson was out, maybe I'd have some interest in some of these secondary guys. But so you mentioned having one interest in one player from Green Bay, but this game as a whole, is there anybody that you're prioritizing on either side?
No. The only other guys I have exposure to, I see a case for either of the Bears running backs, depending on how you see the game playing out. Jordan Howard showed. It's Jordan Howard. What can you say? But he did show some life. Maybe they do pound it. And then Tariq Cohen's explosive enough where I think he's kind of perpetually in the GPP bucket. But I would feel fine. And on most of my important lineups, I don't have any exposure to this game, and I'll live with that. I think you can get by without it.
Right. Yeah, $3,900 for Howard on DraftKings isn't exactly the worst price.
Exactly.
Right. But even at that price, like the difference is now, I was explaining this to, I won't say explaining. I was talking to one of our producers at the Sirius XM show that you joined me yesterday and last week and killed it, by the way. If you're not checking out Ben joining the show, talking college football each Saturday, you should definitely do so during these bowl games. But the thing about value plays now, Ben, is that like I think I forget who it was. Who's the Oakland? What was his name? Aitman.
Oh yeah, Marcel
right?
Aitman. Yep.
And the guy's like, yeah, dude, he scored for me last week. So he scored. He had one reception for what, like 10 yards. That doesn't do it anymore. Like even at 3,900, 3,500, you still need like 15 fantasy points. You still need 15, 16, even 17 fantasy points to have a shot at winning decent money.
Absolutely. That's the Cameron Brate formula that we've talked about. Like,
right.
Part of the reason you can fade him is he can score and still not get there in this, when these slates,
right.
especially with, if 230, 250 are what you need for some of these top end finishes, just returning, 2 catches for 12 yards and a touchdown just doesn't get it done anymore. So
exactly.
it is something to factor in, especially, if you're playing in large field tournaments.
Right. And that's why it's hard for me to get on board with a guy like Howard, because yes, the carries will probably be there, but like you need the 100 yards and a touchdown, or at least, 70 and a touchdown or 80 and a touchdown. You can't just have the yard. You can't just have one or the other anymore. That's what I'm saying here.
Yeah. I mean, it is becoming so hard to be non-existent in the passing game and be a vital play, like especially on full PPR when you're just getting a 0 and other guys can get, 4 for 25 yards. That's an extra touchdown. Like
absolutely.
So incredibly fast. And Howard obviously rarely, if ever, contributes.
Unless you're doing what Derrick Henry did the other week. Like,
yeah, that's right.
Kind of unlikely. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then look, with somebody like Aaron Rodgers, of course he can come out here and put up a big game with solid numbers. But look, man, last week he was fine. No problems with him. He didn't need to be that good. If anything, I could see Rodgers being a solid tournament option. Pairing him with somebody like Adams, who he looks to regardless of week. I think I pointed this out to you last week. Might have been on the Sirius show, but Devontae Adams' DraftKings totals this season are 20, 20, 18, 16, 32, 38, 21, 16, 21, 30, 18, 23, and 21. I mean, he is the definition of consistency, regardless of matchup. It doesn't matter if he's facing Xavier Rhodes or Xavier Howard or anybody. Like, he's going to get targeted. He's going to put up numbers, and he's got 12 touchdowns and 1,200 yards on the season. So, if anything, I look at like a Rodgers-Adams pairing in tournaments because they always do have some upside at least, and I expect them to be pretty low owned on this slate.
Yeah, no problem with that. Adams is, like you said, the floor is almost unmatched. It's like Zeke. The guy just produces week in, week out. So I don't mind that. I may end up with a sliver. But again, I really do think even with Adams, you can get by without him.
Sure.
So
Right, because his floor is very high, but his ceiling hasn't been spectacularly high either.
Exactly. And he's pricey, as he should be, because he's fantastic. But it's just a game where all in all, I was willing to take the risk to kind of move on with it.
Yep, for sure. We have Aaron Rodgers around projected 3% ownership,
Yeah,
which
that's
is always interesting. But yeah, he hasn't been that good this year though. Just being honest. What do we say we move on to the Bills and the Detroit Lions? We got where is it? Chris Austin. I got $50 that says Ben has some love for my Bills today. Yeah, I would never bet against Ben loving the Bills. And generally speaking, we both have some interest in teams like this. You like shitty teams more than I do, but that doesn't mean that we both can't find some love with these guys a lot this year when it comes to the defense, or when it comes to, I don't know, maybe Josh Allen, who's facing a Detroit team that defensively has struggled against at least non-Arizona defenses or offenses, because anybody can hold Arizona to no points, as they did last week. But you've got Matthew Stafford, who has talked about, yes, he's playing through a back injury. He is injured. He's playing through it. And then Josh Allen, who's just looked pretty solid on the other end, using his legs to rack up, I think he's got 300 some rushing yards over the last 3 weeks. It's amazing, Ben. It really is.
Yeah, he's such a boss. Yeah, this is a game, it's tough to attack it. Obviously, you had a sub 40 total here. Bills slight favorite. I did bet the Bills -2.5. I think at home. They can control this game. I like their defense. We can get right into that. Josh Allen, obviously, he can't keep this up. He's going to have to get some more protection long term and start throwing the ball. But you can always go there. I mean, with the way he's running, and he is a red zone threat. Obviously, you alluded to this earlier in the show. The real question is if Ivory and Shady both sit, which it looks like, I believe McCoy's been ruled out, and
I'm seeing that he's inactive. Yeah.
Okay. And I believe Ivory was trending towards being out. What does that mean? Is that Marcus Murphy time? Is it Isaiah McKenzie, he's in the wide receiver bucket, but he got some carries last week. He's kind of a gadgety. He reminds me almost like Theo Riddick. He's can really do a couple different things. I don't mind going there as a punt. I don't think this is a game. It doesn't have any stackability in my mind. But as a punt or salary relief play here or there, I think you could do worse.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we saw Cordarrelle Patterson put up. Didn't he score 2 rushing touchdowns earlier this season when all of the running backs were busted up for the Patriots? I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world. But yeah, I'm seeing that McCoy is inactive. Well, we'll stay tuned just to make sure. I'll see if I can get further confirmation on that. But that's what I'm seeing. So again, seeing that he's out, and we will go, and we will for now. Like I said, I don't see any reason I'd be wrong on this, right? Because it's the same source I usually always get it from, but I didn't see it from a ton. Now, when it comes to Chris Ivory, though, I'm still seeing game time decision. Are you seeing anything else?
No, I haven't seen any confirmation. The last I saw of him, they said it was likely to be out, but those things change on the fly. Right. I think we need to kind of just wait and see. I'm not going to get to Ivory regardless. If he plays, I'm not going to use him. But that's
what I was going to ask you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to get there. I will say if he plays, it makes me a little. Certainly, I would not use Marcus Murphy. I don't think I'm going to get to him. Isaiah McKenzie is the one guy where I think he's dynamic enough, especially on a full PPR site. You can take a stab there, but it's still a tough game. Like I said, sub 40 total. And then on the Lions side, I don't know. I really, you mentioned it. Stafford is just, he's getting the 100-yard bonus passing barely. Like, that's not a bonus. It's disturbing. He can barely break 100 yards. Like, it's hard to look to someone like Galladay. It's just, there's not enough volume to go around.
There really isn't. I don't know, man. If Ivory is confirmed out, knowing that McCoy is out as well, and we know that Ivory, as you said, did not expected to play. Murphy to me is somebody that I might consider. I mean, here's why. Is there any way in this game that, of course there's some way, but is there any realistic way that I can project the Bills to really be playing from behind for any large stretches of this game? Like,
I would hope not. I mean, not
right,
that it's a close spread and it's just, but
right.
either way, even if the Lions say they win this game, I would be stunned if they're out where the Bills have to abandon the run early.
Exactly.
Like,
Right. That's what I'm saying. If they're down 10-7 or
yeah,
3-0, 7 not that yeah, sure. But I mean the game's got a sub 40 over under, which makes sense. And the Bills have at least been moving the football well enough with somebody like Allen at the helm. I guess the question is, how much do you have to rely on a guy like Murphy or even McKenzie when you have your best running back is Josh Allen?
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's really tough when he's scoring on the ground. They're not going to have many opportunities. I don't see them racking up a ton of points, which is why I'm almost looking to pass catchers that are in the running. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
McKenzie's asset is that he can catch it. The Lions have been better with Snacks there. He really has boosted the run defense. But I think a guy, if you can get him on the outside, maybe some dump offs, you could get by with a punt there. And we'll talk about Kenneth Dixon as we go on here. There's a couple cheap running backs that I think are going to have some ownership today.
Yeah, I agree, and I like the McKenzie call simply because it's not that you're relying just in one facet of the game. That it does make sense. Is it still a big risk? Yeah, no question.
Oh yeah.
But he played 78% of the snaps last week, which is enough. And I'll tell you, the guy that, no joke, man, last week the guy that put me in the money was actually Robert Foster. I kind of like last minute, I said, you know what? Screw it, man. I'm getting Robert Foster in here at 3,300. Why not? He's going to go vastly overlooked and got a great game from him. Is he a risky play? Sure. In a low passing volume offense, but he had a very solid game. Now you see his price come up, though, where he's not really minimum salary anymore. And while Allen's thrown 33 and 36 times over his last two games, it's very possible that in a game like this, you could go back to seeing him throw only 19, 20 times. And that is a bit of a concern to me.
I'm with you. Yeah, that Foster and him have some, they connected on that that was like an 80-yard bomb a couple weeks ago. So the upside's there. It's just now that the price, there's a big difference between, mid to low threes and 4-2, 4-3. You need a different type of game from your punt at that point. And it's a little dicey with the floor aspect of a guy like Foster.
Right. Philip says, can someone please talk about Isaiah McKenzie? We definitely did for a while. Yeah. You feel free when it's over, go back or bring it back a little bit. No problem. But we don't have all the time in the world to go back to it because we're trying to get all the games in here. Buffalo defense, Ben?
Yeah. I like a couple other ones, but you could do, like you talked about it. Stafford, that offense is cooked there, and they're going up to Buffalo. Not the best spot. So not a bad play.
Yeah, not bad at all. The funny thing is, too, that they don't have the lowest implied point total on this slate. Actually, it's the third lowest, and one team has a 14.5 point implied total, which is just insane. Yeah, do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's keep it moving.
All right, let's talk Baltimore, Tampa Bay. This game, to see the Ravens yesterday had the second highest total on this slate. It was around 47, I think. It's down to 46. That's just because Tampa Bay's defense is so dreadfully bad, right? There really isn't anything about this defense, even maybe if they get a little bit healthy, that makes them efficient or bolsters any aspect of the defense. I mean, they're 30th in pass defense DVOA according to Football Outsiders, and then in run defense they're 30th. They're brutal, man. Or I'm sorry, they're 28th in pass defense and 30th in run defense. I'm assuming if we looked at weighted DVOA, it would also be really, really bad, meaning you're looking at more over the last bit of the season. There's nothing about this defense that scares you. What are you doing with this offense for Baltimore with guys like Lamar Jackson, and does Kenneth Dixon get some run? I've been high on Dixon for too long now, and he's let me down every year. I was also high on Brashard Perriman last year, and I got inundated with like last night. Hey, Luffy, there's Perriman, man. Nice call. Like, yeah, thanks. A full calendar year later. Mm-hmm. But anyway, let's talk about the Ravens first, because they do have a pretty high implied total, I should say. And Tampa Bay's terrible defensively.
Yeah, I mean, this is one, it's tough because, if you just isolate the Ravens players, taking a look at their salaries, they don't have any expensive weapons. Lamar Jackson's he's the most expensive, and he's still sub 6K on DraftKings. Then you've got the receivers who it's very difficult to go there just because of the way Jackson plays. Then you have the running backs who are all very cheap. So somebody, and I like most think that the Ravens win this game relatively easily. Somebody's getting there. It's
Right.
just, it's very difficult to project. I've seen this time, like these are the type of games where somehow, even though he might be inactive, Buck Allen makes it like, it's just like they have guys that come from nowhere. Kenneth Dixon seems like he's the one right now. He played well last week. They've indicated he's going to get more work. His dirt cheap. It's just, we've seen the story before with their running backs. They have an inordinate amount of running backs and tight ends. I don't know how they have so many, but that's what the Ravens do. So I do have some Dixon. I think it's very difficult to get away. It opens up the rest of your teams. But it's not a just plug and play. We could still see Gus Edwards get plenty of work. And obviously, Lamar Jackson, even though I do think if they control the game, they'll try to limit his rushing to an extent, he's still going to be, getting plenty of carries to justify if you want to go there.
Yeah, I think so too. I mentioned last week after we saw this, we saw that overtime loss to KC, I said that I expect Dixon to see over 10 touches this week, the coming week. And I still think we should. Is 10 touches what you're looking for? No, I mean, obviously not. But usually you don't get guys that do have Dixon's talent at that dirt cheap bottom barrel price. So I think in tournaments, on a team where, like you said, there are a lot of bodies, but let's not act like Gus Edwards is prime, Adrian Peterson, right? Or LaDainian Tomlinson. Like this is still Gus Edwards, and before him, it was still Alex Collins.
It's cyclical. That's what I'm saying. Like Gus Edwards, who was he 5 weeks ago? He wasn't even involved. It was Collins and Buck Allen. And now it seems like, it's got to be Gus Edwards. No, it doesn't. Like, Dixon to me is vastly more talented. Obviously, he's more dynamic. It's just a matter of volume. Now, he got there last week. He did find the end zone. He only had 9 touches. You're looking for a lot more than that. But at 3.5, there's a lot of wiggle room where you could, quote unquote, not get it the perfect result and you still get there and it doesn't kill you.
Exactly. And you know what? Maybe that big game happened. Hey, you know what else could happen? Baltimore is a pretty heavy favorite in a game where they should win with relative ease. They have the second highest implied total on the slate. Yeah, 27.3 points. Not, of course, that's not everything, but they're 8.5 point favorites, right? The line continues to move towards Baltimore. The total continues to come down, but really what you're seeing is Tampa Bay's total coming down more than anything, Ben. And now they're 8.5 point favorites. The over-unders down to 45.5, but they still have a 27.3 implied total. It's very possible also that they go up and Dixon gets a lot of work in the fourth quarter as well. Like that would not be out of the question either. So I think there are more than one or two ways for Dixon to produce in this game. And he's super cheap. So in tournaments, I'll definitely have some.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Real quick on the other side, I really don't have much. It's a tough Baltimore defense. Mike, you're not going to ever find Mike Evans as cheap as he is. He's priced down because A, he's Mike Evans, and B, this is a tough matchup. So if you wanted to take a flyer here and there, I get it. But man, is it a tough spot for this. They're up in Baltimore. It might be sloppy. There's a lot of rain on the East Coast right now. It's tough to see the Bucs moving the ball a ton today.
Yes, exactly. And that's the problem. David Parker says Gus Edwards is the play from Baltimore's backfield. I mean, obviously, if you're looking for the guy that is expected to get the early work, yeah, of course. Like Gus Edwards should, get the work. But this is also a guy who, excuse me, does not have a single passing target in like 100 weeks. So actually, he has one on the season. And I'm not saying that Dixon's going to be heavily involved in the passing game. All I'm saying is that I think all Ben and I are both saying is not to entirely sleep on a guy at that cheap of a price point. That's all.
Yeah. It's the last thing I'll say on Edwards. He falls in. We just talked about this. I don't see any possible way that he can get there without finding the end zone. He has to score. Right. Whereas that's not the case with someone like Dixon.
Right. And it's unlikely that if you fade Edwards, it's going to absolutely kill you. Now, of course, if he gets into the end zone twice and goes for 100 yards rushing, it's a different story.
Yeah, that's very unlikely. Even in this game, that would be I'd be pretty stunned.
So would I. Absolutely. On the Tampa Bay side, I think you're right. I mean, yes, you have guys like Mike Evans. He's too cheap, but that's strictly a price play. I mean, I'm not paying $4K for Cameron Brate. Peyton Barber's dirt cheap, but you're also talking about someone that unless he finds the end zone, you're getting nothing from him. Give me the guy at the same price on the other side that has a much better game script and is a 8.5-point favorite. You know, it's to me, it's not even close there.
Mm-hmm.
So. What about Lamar Jackson or Baltimore defense before we move on?
Baltimore defense, that's my cash defense. I think they're the safest on the board. Lamar Jackson, the one thing I worry about is if they're up big, I don't know why they would make him run. You know, I know he's mobile, but God, I'm sure they want to conserve as much as possible.
Yeah, I think so too. Would you rather go Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? Similar quarterback.
Today, I would rather go Lamar Jackson. It pains me to say that. I'm not too high on either of them, to be honest. I think they both have limited rushing ceilings relative to what we've seen, and that makes it tough because their passing assets are not good.
Okay, let's keep going then. Talk Atlanta and Arizona. Atlanta at home here. Man, this team has just been bad, right? I mean, they've lost, 5 straight games? It's been brutal. Yeah, they lost to Cleveland, they lost to Dallas, they lost to the Saints, they lost to Baltimore, where they weren't even competitive. They lost to Green Bay, not even competitive. Yeah, that game ended 34-20, but it was 34-7 for like almost 4 quarters. It's been absolutely brutal. But here's a game where, if they don't at least get back on track, and I mean, they're the biggest favorite on this slate. There's a 10-point spread on this game, right? Arizona has the second lowest expected total at 17 points. Atlanta is at 27, right? They should score points here. They absolutely should score points here. It comes down to who is going to score these points. There are a few spots to look, and I guess let's start with the backfield and how you see this shaping up. Do we have confirmation on Smith?
I have not seen it. That's what.
Neither have I.
So, yeah, that's something. Obviously, if Tevin Coleman is the last man standing, it's an appealing spot, no doubt. If Ito Smith is there, it certainly muddies the water.
Yeah, because in terms of snap counts, like last week, you see him basically both get 45%. Coleman got 46. Smith got 45. Brian Hill got 13%. You're maybe guys like Ricky Ortiz get a couple snaps, but and Brian Hill, but you have to figure that Tevin Coleman, in the event that Smith doesn't play, sees his snap count rise pretty dramatically, and he's very, very cheap.
It's definitely a guy I'm interested in. It's something it's really binary for me. If Ito Smith is in there, I'm not sure I'm going to get to much Coleman at all. And if he sits, he becomes one of those viable punt running backs. If you don't want to go all the way down to a guy like, Dixon.
Right. Well, that's where I'm at. If Smith plays, I really just don't have much interest. What about and if he doesn't, yes, I'll have some Coleman just because he's very, very, very cheap. Look, he hasn't been good lately, but let's at least consider the fact that they've been playing from behind a lot. Like they're abandoning the run game. In 3 straight games now, they just completely abandoned the run. 4 games actually. It's been brutal. So, not to say that they've been effective anyway, but they haven't really had much opportunity. This feels like unless you know what, Ben, unless Atlanta, we know they're not good, but unless they are really that atrocious, they're that dreadfully anemic on offense that Josh Rosen and company come out and drop 14 early points on the board unanswered like that. I just still don't see that happening.
No, neither do I. And yeah, I mean, Matt, it's funny. A couple weeks ago, I was, Falcons. I was against the grain with them in Baltimore. And Matt Ryan was awful. Other than that, though, even in this midst of just how bad they've been, he's been fine as a fantasy quarterback. And now he's at home in the Dome. I do not mind if you want to go there. Not going to be popular. The trick for me is, what do you really do, though? Because Patrick Peterson and Julio are going to match up today. It's going to be a battle. Can Julio get the best of him? Of course he can. But it's not the best situation for you're paying a premium for a guy like Julio. do you go to someone like Ridley or Sanu who are, roulette, spins? Yeah, they have upside, but their floors are god awful. So I do have some Ryan. It's just very tough to allocate where you want to pair him.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you're getting Matt Ryan not at a huge discount either. And even in these losses, some of them he's been pretty decent. He struggled against Dallas, against Baltimore, fine. I know that Baltimore one was a pretty disappointing one for you.
Not good.
Yeah, but like Julio Jones, you're going to see some Patrick Peterson here. Are there enough wide receivers on this slate for you? I mean, I have an answer to this, but I'm curious to know where you're at to say, yeah, not really, don't really think I need to go Julio here. Or are you?
No, I'm not really. Even with Matt Ryan, I rolled the dice and took Ridley. It's just the kind of situation I really feel that even if Julio has a good game relative to what we're seeing, I'm not sure it's going to justify when you have guys like AB, Thielen, D. Like, there's just other guys who have 30 plus upside. I would be pretty stunned if Julio just torches Patrick Peterson today to the extent of something like that.
Yeah, I actually have some interest in somebody like Calvin Ridley for that reason.
Yep.
I mean, he's been terrible lately, along with most of this team. But we have seen games where Julio's matched up against a tough corner. It doesn't mean that he's not going to get some work, but it does mean that we've seen Calvin Ridley be more effective in those games as well.
Absolutely, and it's me and Andrew on From A to B were talking about this. It's not just that Patrick Peterson is so good that he defends the passes. A lot of it is that Matt Ryan says, okay, I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to look elsewhere for the most part. And the targets just get allocated. It's not worth it to say, I'm going to have to make a great throw every time when you have Ridley in a clearly superior matchup.
Well, we've seen Hooper as well in those spots get more work.
Absolutely.
I don't think Hooper's the craziest play, but also how much pass volume is going to be needed here. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. This is actually a tough game for me to make like definitive concrete decisions on. I'll be honest with you. And I think it's more so going to come down to, if Smith is out, and I'm seeing some reports that they're expecting him to play, but I have no confirmation yet. So I'm not going to say one way or the other. Like if he is out, then I will have some Coleman. I'm going to have some Ridley. And I don't think I'm really going to be forcing anyone else, and maybe some Matt Ryan as well, but I'm not super high on anyone here, even though they're 10-point favorites at home.
Yeah, no, I think that's a reasonable. This is another game where I would get it. I do have a couple teams that are heavy on it. Ran it back with someone like David Johnson, who's basically the only option. I think it's hard to go to Arizona, but at the same time, this game could be pretty ugly, and it's still 11 games. I don't think it's a priority to go here if you don't want to.
Right, I'm with you. Hey, by the way, if you want to check out a free week, completely free of awesemo.com content, everything behind paywall, all you got to do is use the Game Plan Show, one word, and use that as a promo code when you check out. If you go to our homepage, click join now, what you will see is a package. You could choose whatever plan you would like. Make sure to include the Fantasy Cruncher add-on if you want to check that out for a free week as well. And then when you check out Game Plan Show, one word, Game Plan Show, all one word, use that promo code and you'll get your free week. You can test it out before you buy anything. So I think it's worth checking out, and I think you guys will like it. And you know what? If you don't, well, guess what? You didn't pay anything. So
right.
No worse for wear. Miles said Laffy made the key point. Why pass if the Cardinals don't score? You need to play DJ. Well, yeah, actually, yeah. So on the other side, it is interesting. If you are loading up, like let's say you want to play, if you're loading up on Matt Ryan and you want Julio or Ridley and such, and you're expecting this aerial attack to come through, David Johnson might be somebody that you'd want to consider.
Yeah, he is one of maybe the only real option that you can run it back with. Arizona's decimated. It's just tough. Their line is in shambles. Obviously, Kirk is gone. It's just a bad spot. But this is still a very attackable defense, in Atlanta. So I don't mind anyone for going there.
Now, the only problem is, man, like David Johnson, what a disappointment. Like last week, he had 8 receptions on 10 targets. He had 12 yards. He averaged 1.5 yards per reception. I mean, just terrible, man. It's just been bad.
No.
It's been really bad. So the thing to me is that he's not cheap. He's not cheap.
No, the matchup, it's dynamic pricing. He got priced up, and that's the problem. We're going to get to some other top end running backs. I kind of have them ahead of him when you factor everything in.
So do I. And let's move over to Cincinnati and Oakland. If we miss anything and you want to hit us with some questions in chat, feel free to do so. Try and answer everything that we can. Of course, we only have so much time on this show, and we try to get everything in, or as much in as possible each week. But Cincy and Oakland, it's two bad football teams. But I'll tell you what, man, I haven't seen pricing as bad as Joe Mixon at 6,100 in this spot in quite some time, Ben. Just to give you the spread here, the Bengals are 3-point favorites at home. Look, bad offense, bad defense, but Oakland's worse on both sides. Bengals have a actually pretty appealing 24.5 point implied total. Mixon touched the ball 31 times last week. He saw 32 total looks. And that was in a game that we thought they'd get crushed by. I think they were like 15-point dogs. And he ends up with 31 total touches on the same day where Gio Bernard only saw 2 targets. Mixon saw 6. How do you not? I don't even care, chalk or not. Like at this price point, 6,100, it's such egregious and erroneous pricing that there's no way I can get away from it. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, we're both Mixon guys. I play him all the time. There's nothing really to say. I bet Cincinnati. I like them at home. I know they've been awful, but they're much better at home. And this is just a spot. You can listen when you're in single entry, or even in big field tournaments. If you have a guy with massive ownership, you can always say, you know what? It's football, guys. They could just get hurt, which you're not predicting, right, but you never know. And right, we've seen time and time again it fail. You can go elsewhere. Having said that, I am making stands elsewhere. I love Mixon. I jammed him in. He's in my cash line. I think in cash, just play him. There's no reason not to. Tournaments, yeah, do whatever you want, of course, but I am certainly over the field on him. There are no red flags. He should have a huge game and easily pay off. If he was 7-5, I would have plenty of him.
Right. It really comes down to your 6,100 is insane, Ben. It really is. Like,
oh, yeah.
And you're right. Yes. The reason you can always fade someone like this is because having a good game, being locked into probably having a good game is different than having an explosive game where you fade him, where you're done if you fade him. It's hard. You just can't predict spots like that. Like, yes, somebody like Saquon Barkley against Washington or in specific matchups, you can very easily say, like, I don't want to fade this guy. And I think you can make the same argument for Mixon, but Mixon isn't on that level yet. So is it possible that he has 100 yards and a touchdown, or 115 yards and a touchdown, and still doesn't destroy you if you fade him? Yes. But at 6,100, this is one of those salaries where I look at it and say, man, it'll take a lot for Mixon to hurt me by playing him.
Yeah, I mean, it's a situation. If Mixon gets targets, and there's no reason to think he won't, I don't see many ways it fails. I really don't, because if he gives you 10 points from just passing, forget it. That's without touchdown. You don't need that much at 6-1. Of course, like you said, there's a big window where he returns something in the teens. That's not what you're looking for, but it also isn't a disaster at the same time.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. 100%. A little bit of news here, by the way. Chris Ivory is out, and now you got that confirmation that we have no LaShawn McCoy either. Xavier Howard is out. Matt Stafford, we know he's playing. The ones that are important here, T.Y. Hilton is playing, and Ito Smith is playing, Ben. So if we circle back there quickly, does that definitely takes some shine off of Tevin Coleman?
Yeah, I'm actually happy about that. I didn't want to play Kevin Coleman, and this makes it easier.
There you go.
I will have a little now.
Yeah, I hear you. But with Mixon, it's just, and we'll wrap up this Cincinnati side of the ball. Like, the interesting thing here too is that they're only favored by 3 points because their defense is so dreadful too. And this is not a good football team. It's Joe Mixon and who else, right? You got Jeff Driscoll and sure you have Tyler Boyd, but Driscoll's still got to get him the ball efficiently. Is there anyone else on the Bengals side that you're interested in?
No, I see the merit if you want to play Boyd. John Ross, he's going to regress very hard. He's scoring on like every reception at this point. That's just insane. The one other guy, Uzuma at tight end, if you want to punt. Does he have a big ceiling? No, he doesn't. But the floor should be there in a game like this. Oakland against tight ends is a thing, always has been. But for me, it's just, you start with Mixon, and I don't have that much interest elsewhere on the team.
Yeah. I mean, it's clearly a very good, favorable positional matchup for Boyd as well. I don't think you need to lock him in there, but if you want to play him, sure. If you believe that Driscoll can get him the ball, then Tyler Boyd is in a good spot. There's no question. And again, this game, like, it wouldn't be crazy to see this game finish at like for 30-27 or something, just because
no doubt
it's basically, are both offenses, they're both bad, but I think both offenses are good enough to beat up on two terrible defenses. And that's really what it comes down to. Not to mention, we don't have a lot of high total games on this slate. So that to me comes into play. We had a question from Garrett in chat. I answered in chat, but I'll throw it to you quickly. Would you play Mixon at 78 on FanDuel?
I have no problem doing that. Obviously, the ownership will be down, so I think it's playable, but it's in a different situation. It's not a plug and play like it is on a site like DraftKings.
Right, agreed. But I still think he's very much in play just based on the spot alone.
No
hey,
doubt.
By the way, Ty Montgomery a healthy scratch, so that just gives you a little bit more reason to think maybe Kenneth Dixon gets some work today.
If he can't do it now, because that's the one guy, especially in the passing game.
Right, exactly.
God, just do it, Kenneth Dixon.
I mean, dude, to be like, Montgomery has not been amazing by any stretch, but he does have 13 targets over the last 3 games. He does have 13 carries. So that's still another body, another mouth to feed that is no longer going to be active today. So there you have it.
All righty.
You know what we're doing? This should end well. Mm-hmm. What about on the Oakland side?
Oakland for me is real easy to break down. I have no interest anywhere besides if you want to take a dart throw with Jordy Nelson. He's getting some work. And then obviously Jared Cook is the one consistent contributor. I certainly have exposure to him, but I don't see many reasons to try to take a stab with Carr or attack that running game.
Okay. Yeah, me neither. Somebody like Doug Martin, has he been better lately? Yes, but only because he's scored in 3 straight games. Doug Martin is another one of these players that needs to score.
Yeah, I feel like with a guy like that, we've almost seen, obviously ceiling is relative, but we've almost seen him hit ceiling games. And what is it doing? Like, what's going to happen when he does? It's like John Ross. What happens when he only catches 2 balls and they're not touchdowns? Like, you're going to have a serious problem.
Yep. And I think you mentioned him. Did you mention Richard? I was reading the chat, so my apologies.
He does his thing. If you're playing him, you obviously want Cincy to go way ahead and him to start racking up the passing volume.
Right. All right. How about we move on here to the Giants and the Tennessee Titans? But before we do, I just want to let you guys know, a lot of you that watch our NBA streams know this already, but over on Yahoo, they have a tournament going today with $250,000 in guaranteed overlay, and it's a 10 entry max, not 150 entry max, 10 entry max. So you have a realistic shot of winning some good money here. And if you want to sign up, right, it's called the Yahoo $1 Million Baller, $250,000 in guaranteed overlay, $1 million prize pool, and 10 entry max. It's for this week, week 15. All you got to do is sign up at sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy, sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy. And if you sign up with the promo code AWESEMO, AWESEMO, you'll get $30 back on any deposit of $30 or more. So sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy, and use the promo code AWESEMO. So there you have it. And it's a pretty decent contest, Ben, given that it's 10 entry max and a lot of over. I don't even know why they're doing this.
You truly can't get a better, just from your equity standpoint. If everything else is the same, that's the best tournament of the year. There's no, even I rarely play on, the non-2 big sites. I'm making an exception. I'm going to try to get over there. It's just, everyone should really give it a try. Great spot.
Now I just had to figure out how to do these salaries, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New site.
It's different. It's definitely different, but there's 33K out of 37.5. I'm going to enter some right after the show. All right, let's get the show over with so then I can get some in here. I'm serious. There's no way I'm not going to enter. Why not? I mean,
you got it.
even though I don't really understand, I am not good with the salaries there because I haven't played a ton on Yahoo. I guess today will be the day, Ben. And it's 24 days of giveaway. Going up to Christmas Eve, we're giving away free stuff to all of our subs because we love you. And you know what? Even if you're not a subscriber, all you have to do is like the video and comment down below after the show for a chance to win. Each day we're giving away a free package of your choosing, any sport you want, to one lucky winner, or something from our merch shop. And believe it or not, we've actually got pretty cool merch in our shop. It's shop.awesemo.com. That one's a lot easier for me to say. All you got to do, like the video and comment down below. You get a chance to win a package this week, anything of your choosing, or something in the shop if you want to do that and you already are a sub. And then on Christmas Eve, the 24th, we're giving away a all-access annual pass, full calendar year of premium content, a $700 value to one randomly selected winner. So all you got to do, again, like the video, comment, really whatever you want down beneath. I don't have time to get creative because we want to get all this content in for you and give you these, break down the rest of these games. But that's 24 days of giveaway, our gift from us at Awesemo to you, because we love you guys. And we hope that, you win, you use our content, and then you win some money. All right, Ben, want to move on here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's talk Giants in Tennessee, baby. We've got the Giants at home, coming off that just bludgeoning of Mark Sanchez, and yes, Josh. We'll get to him later because it's ridiculous that guy's actually playing football in 2018. But anyway, here you have it, man. A 43-point total. The Titans are 1-point favorites on the road. They have a 22-point implied total, and the Giants at 21. We'll start with whatever team you want.
Well, for me, I'll pass it right back to you real quick because I don't have much on the Titans. I get Corey Davis just as a kind of, he fits a price range, and I have no problem. I'm not going to the running backs. Derrick Henry went as nuts could be on Thursday, but I'm not really chasing anything there. I'm in New York. It's very it's raining here. It's supposed to be bad during the game. Not that overly changes things, but it certainly doesn't help. So that side, I don't have much.
Neither do I.
Okay.
Are you going to have some Henry though? Like,
I'm not, no.
When push comes to shove, it's kind of tough, ain't it? I actually think though, I actually don't think it's the craziest idea because I feel like most people aren't going to try and chase the points here. Most people, I think, are looking at it like, look, this was a flash in the pan. Lightning doesn't strike twice in the same spot. Why would I go here, when he's 5K, which is a very, very realistic way of looking at it. But at the same time, here's my argument against it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or here's me playing devil's advocate. Dion Lewis has been trash. It's not like recently Dion Lewis is siphoning away a ton of work because he's been good. He hasn't been good. I mean, his yards per carry over the last several games, look at this, 1.3. Then, he had 6 because he had 6 carries for 36. Then 1.1, 2.4, 2.9, 3.3. That's since week 9. Dion Lewis in the run game has not been good at all. So I do think if there's one thing that the Giants are not going to have as easy a time scoring at all as they did against Washington last week, who was all but given up on the season, right? Tennessee is still playing. They still have playoff aspirations. I think Derrick Henry comes in and gets the bulk of the work on the run game. And for that reason alone, I don't think it's the craziest idea to assume that, maybe he does have a 100-yard game with 2 touchdowns. I know I'm in the minority there, but I don't think it's the craziest idea based just on game flow, where they're at in the standings, and how ineffective Dion Lewis has been.
No, I don't. I mean, I totally get that mindset. He's going to get his chances. I'll say that. If you think, he can run effectively, I have no problem. It's just the same story. He's going to give you probably 0 in the receiving game. So you better hope he scores, because even if he runs effectively, he's going to need to find the end zone. And that's tough.
Unquestionably, yes. And that is a very solid point. It's something we talk about every week. No doubt he needs to find the end zone. But the positive thing here is that he actually can. Derrick Henry is somebody that can score. And we've seen, he has 2 multi-touchdown games this season. So it's not the craziest idea to think he can. Again, playing devil's advocate here, I don't think it's the craziest idea to play some. Now, obviously, it all comes down to ownership. And I'm seeing him around like 7-8% ownership, which isn't crazy. So I'm going to sprinkle in a little Derrick Henry. I don't feel great about it, but in a game that I expect to stay very competitive, Derrick Henry's the type of guy that that could get some work. And Deion Lewis has been terrible. Anything else from the Tennessee side?
No, not really. Just not a great spot that I want to attack.
Yeah, and I just have no interest in someone like Mariota, even in a matchup that's not bad. What about the other side with Barkley?
Yeah, I mean, of course Saquon's in play. I didn't make it a priority to get him though. I have some exposure because he can end the slate. There's no doubt about that. But I think more often than not he doesn't kill you at 9-4. That is a giant tag.
It is. It is.
So
and
him and
really
Sterling
good.
Shepard, he's amazing. I mean, him and Sterling Shepard are the only Giants that I have exposure to, and I don't have a ton of either, but enough where if they do go off, my slate is still alive. And if they return middling performances, I'm probably a little ahead of the field.
Fair enough. Yeah, I just don't. I can't get to guys like Ingram right now. It's just.
No, that's not happening.
Can't do it right now. I'm with you. Maybe some Sterling Shepard and Look, you end up on Barkley. You're not reworking your lineup. I can assure you of that much. Like that's the type of player he is. He's just been so good. He has 30, 40 fantasy point upside every week. So, like you said, is he killing you at this price tag if you don't play him? Probably not. But at the same time, the only thing I'll say against it, and then we'll move on because we don't have a ton of time, Ben, is that on this slate, there isn't an Alvin Kamara, there isn't a Christian McCaffrey, there isn't a Todd Gurley. Saquon Barkley is definitely the cream of the crop here, along with, I guess, Ezekiel Elliott.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, there are factors, and obviously we don't have the time to delve in it fully, but, with slates that don't have as many superstars, raw points, middling performances become more and more pertinent sometimes, just depending on opportunity cost. So I get it. And like you said, if I have 9,400 left, I will plug him in and I'll be happy about it. It's just not someone I said I'm going to make a ton of room on all my teams for.
Right. Some good comments in chat. We got some smart viewers. I'll tell you that much. Some good points being brought up. I'd love to get into all of them, but I'll let them stay in chat for now. And of course, if you guys have any questions after the show, you can hit me and Ben up, or Ben and I up in Slack chat if you are members. And of course, if you want to test it out for free, you can get in Slack, or you can just hit us up on Twitter if you want to bypass all of that. You can find our handles right below our heads. All right, Ben, let's move it on here. Minnesota and Miami. Kirk Cousins and Minnesota's offense have absolutely stalled out. Last week was terrible. Looked like the Legion of Boom was back in Seattle. They've scored a combined 17 points over their last 2 games. This should be a get-right spot for Minnesota. They have the 4th highest expected total at 26.3 on this slate. They're 7.5-point favorites at home against the Miami team that will be without Xavier Howard. Are you buying into it?
Oh yeah, this is where it's going to probably go off the rails for me. I like Kirk Cousins. I
think you're right. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm just saying I think it's the right take. You have to have interest here. And Cousins knows his back's up against the wall too. I know he got a monster contract and everything, but still, like, he's got to prove something.
He really does. And as bad as he is, and he looked awful.
Last 2 games.
That is possible again. But at the same time, when you look at his game log, he has games that other quarterbacks just don't possess. He has 35-point upside.
Yep.
It's just, you can't say that about everyone. So at home, Miami coming off that absurd win, they're traveling. I think it's a terrible spot for them. I have a lot of I'm definitely overweight on the Vikings as a whole.
Monster letdown spot for Miami, even though that was one of the coolest finishes ever.
Yeah, no, it was. But yeah, you just really would have to, the Vikings, as bad as they played, they're still in the thick of it in terms of a wild card spot. So this is a spot I would really hope they will find ways to move the ball.
Yeah, I think so too. Look, I love nothing more than seeing the Patriots lose,
me too,
on a quote unquote walk-off touchdown. But you're right. Miami in this game, it really seems like it's going to be a tough spot for them to come through. Plus, they're just not that good of a football team. They always play the Patriots well. Divisional matchups. That is not the way to measure the actual legitimacy of the Dolphins, by saying how well they played against the Patriots. And I think this is a spot where they get crushed. And again, with Howard being out, you look at a guy like Stefon Diggs. Man, this is a spot where he could erupt.
Yeah, so I had Thielen and Diggs, flip a coin. Obviously, can Thielen still have a big game? He's probably going to draw Fitzpatrick. Yeah, he can. But man, Diggs gets a big boost from that. That is really good. And I think that if I had to pick one of them, it would now be Diggs.
I'm with you. And another thing too is you are getting a sizable discount.
Yeah,
right?
That's true too.
I mean, on FanDuel, Diggs is 77, Thielen's 82, so not as much. But on DraftKings, it's $1,000 difference. Diggs is $1,000 cheaper. So I think that's a big deal. And then with Dalvin Cook here, it's just hard to figure that he doesn't get a ton of work here. And he's never going to be phased out. Even in both of those ugly losses, Dalvin Cook saw, 17 total targets in 2 games and 22 carries. So, right, you're still getting upwards of 20 touches plus a game, even in a bad game script. This one should favor him heavily.
Yep, he's in the mixing bucket for me, where he really can do it in multiple ways. The volume will be there. Matchup is fine. He's a guy that, I think you want to have some exposure to.
So I'll do this quickly. Any interest, you could just go yes, no, whatever, down the line. Kyle Rudolph, Minnesota defense, and then we'll close it out with Miami here.
Not really in Rudolph. I get Minnesota defense. Didn't have to use them as much, but they're on my short list of teams that I think are playable.
What about Miami?
No, I have no interest in anyone. And I think Kenny Stills is the guy that I think people will go to. I'm banking his floor is still really low. I know he has some ceiling in him, but with Rhodes on the other side, I am not going there.
All right. Yeah, me neither. I don't think there's really anything here that you need to. It's Minnesota for me, and that's about it.
Yep.
Want to talk Jacksonville, Washington?
This is good. This will save some time for us because this is
exactly. I was thinking the same.
This is the worst game I've ever seen.
Washington's without looking. Do you know what their implied total is?
No, I mean I haven't seen it, but it's
14, Ben.
14. Yeah, I would say 17. That's pathetic.
Dude, Josh Johnson hadn't started a game since like 2011.
Yeah, it's been a while. I mean, and
literally 2011. That's not hyperbole.
Yeah, that was a long time. Oh boy. No, this is a team. I've seen some Vernon Davis chatter, and I get, can you go to an individual play? Sure. But man, I'm not messing around. I literally just have Fournette and I have the Jaguars defense, and that's all I have from the entire game.
Dude, I would rather play, I'm not joking, I would rather play Anthony Ferkser for Tennessee than Vernon Davis. Like,
rather play Jonnu Smith, who's out for the year.
Exactly. Well, that's why I mentioned Ferkser. I should have mentioned him earlier. If you want to go take an off-the-wall stab at someone, Anthony Ferkser is apparently going to see a significantly increased role with no Smith and, of course, no Delaney Walker. So this is straight from the lips of Mike Vrabel. We'll see. He wants to get him in there more. That'll be interesting. So, look, obviously, massive risk. But the point I'm trying to make is that that's how little confidence I have in Josh Johnson to get the ball to Vernon Davis.
Yeah, I mean, if you just saw the box score and you looked at Josh Johnson and say, oh, he looked good last week. The game was so out of hand. The Giants were literally not trying on I watched that game, and it was beyond garbage time. So I expect a much tougher. First of all, the Jaguars are prepping for him, and he is somewhat mobile. I have zero interest in trying to take a stab with the team that I wouldn't be shocked scores 0 touchdowns.
0 points, maybe.
Yeah, that too. It's bad.
You and I generally don't pay up for defenses. There have been a few times I've done it this year. I think it was the Bears against Nathan Peterman, and that worked out for us. And then this is the spot where, yes, I am telling you right now, I'm willing to pay for the Jaguars because this could be a spot where they have like 30 fantasy points as a defense. Like, it's that bad. That's how bad this Washington offense is going to look. So I am playing Jacksonville defense. This is a rare spot where I'm willing to pay up. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm with you. I agree across the board. Usually I try to punt. I didn't see many great real cheapies. And This is one of those. Jacksonville really could. Are they going to end the slate? I have no idea, but they have multiple monster ceiling performance upside.
Absolutely. And despite how bad they've been all year, like as a team, it's still a defense that held a good Colts offense to 0 points 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's in there.
I mean, Roethlisberger and company put up 20 on them, but that was like all game. They did nothing. And so, yes, this is still a defense that's capable of shutting down Josh Johnson. And look at the whole offense, too. It's not just a quarterback. It's a less than 100% Chris Thompson. And you're look at your wide receiver. Look at your pass catching corps. That's as far as we need to go here.
Yeah,
but that's all.
Line is gone.
Right.
The offensive line is in shambles.
It's gone. Yeah. I don't have anything else in this game than
No.
Jacksonville. Like I don't. Oh, actually, I think Fournette, I don't have an issue with, just because if anyone could see 30 total touches, even if they're all rushing attempts, Leonard Fournette could be that guy.
No problem with him, but I just don't think you mess around too much in this game as a whole.
Yeah. Fournette's my only guy. No interest in the passing attack here. It's very possible that Cody Kessler could throw like 12 times in this game. And I'm not joking. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Could be like you were talking about Army last night.
I was just thinking that. That's right.
Yeah.
The old triple option.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about the Colts in Dallas. This is a game, like, for fantasy purposes, is intriguing because you have some guys that are nicely priced or just dominant every week, but also a tough matchup for the Colts. And then, you have someone like T.Y. Hilton, who on DraftKings is 6,800. He was phenomenal for me last week. People continue to overlook him, and he had been so cheap, and he just continues to put up big numbers. But now he is active, but he had been trending all over the place all week. No one really knew what was going to happen. He does get a tough matchup. The Dallas Cowboys do like to control time of possession and take the ball out of the opposing team's hands. So there are some negative things here, but at the same time, he's been good. It's just tough to prioritize a guy that I don't know what type of health he's really in, and how much of this is he's playing because they really need him to play. Where are you at on guys like Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts offense?
Yeah, I'm not there. This is probably the biggest game where I'm trying to get by without damage. I don't have any luck. I get Hilton. I have a little, but him and Ebron, it's not a great spot. Dallas defense is good, and like you said, they want to muck the game up. Last week, I know you saw it. It was 9-6 pretty late in that game. I know it got out of control, but the Cowboys, I really think, can dampen across the board kind of the upside. So it's not a spot that I'm looking to attack. It is in a dome, and Indy can move the ball. I do understand that, but all in all, I think I'm going to come in less because I expect this game to be one of the more popular on the entire slate.
Really?
Yeah, maybe I'm off base, but I think just with
right.
Like Amari Cooper to me I have 0%, and I
don't have any either.
I'm making my stand there. I think he's going to be popular. I get it, but I'm just not there on this game as a whole.
Yeah. And last week, he was phenomenal, but there was still some, that lucky bounce on the final touchdown and busted coverage because the Eagles are down to their third stringers in the secondary. I take nothing away from him. I'm just saying that there are other ways to go, and his price has come up pretty significantly. So yeah, I'm with you. What about Elliott? And then we'll keep it going here. And Ebron.
Elliott's the same to me as Saquon. I think he's a little safer, but if you have the money, go ahead. He's so good and he performs every week. But I think you can get away with maybe taking a discount to the mid range with the backs. Ebron, I don't have a ton, but I think you do need some exposure. He gets a ton of targets week in and week out, and that shouldn't change this week.
Right. Yeah. Somebody, by the way, mentioned that Sean Lee is back. Yeah, he is. But let's not ignore the fact that Van Der Esch had been a monster in replace. So I don't even know if it moves the needle that much. It's just in the middle of the field defensively, they're really good, and that's all that matters. So this could be a very tough spot for Ebron.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I think the Colts have more risk than most people are giving them right now.
I agree. I'll take a couple stabs at Hilton because, in the dome, he's just unreal and can always break off, just two monster touchdowns, and him and Luck have a great connection. So I still think he's a little bit too cheap. But aside from that, yeah, I prefer Barkley over Elliott too. Mm-hmm. So, all right. San Francisco, Seattle, only got a couple minutes here, but we'll get through it. This is another one where I just think Seattle's defense is showing up at the right time. This team looks very good. I know Mullins threw for like 400 yards against them earlier in the month, and it happened or early in the season. I think maybe it was earlier in the month, but either way, it was week 13. I just don't see that happening today. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe you have a lot more interest here than I do.
Not really. I am higher. I will say, I think the Niners win this game, which is definitely.
I don't. I have Seattle winning this game by a large margin. So this will be a fun one.
Yeah, spread is moving down. I mean, it's opened at 5.5 down to 3.5. I I do think
Yeah,
that
you're not in the minority. I think I probably am. That's why I'm
yeah,
saying
it's an interesting situation. You know, I don't love it for fantasy purposes. If you're making a bunch of teams, I would have a little Mullins. You know, he's at home. They're playing better at home. But all in all, I think, again, just not a game I have too much of on either side of the ball. I think it's pretty low scoring and not a ton of ceiling performances in this one.
Right. And Wilson, dude, it's just the guy doesn't throw.
Exactly.
He's not throwing at all. He had 72 passing yards last game. If I'm going to go anywhere, yeah, it probably would be just punt with like a Nick Mullins and hope that Dante Pettis can give you a decent game or something like that. I don't want to target the backfield here with Wilson and Breida because Breida's healthy, and I don't know how often they're going to get into the end zone. So that's about it. I want to move on. And don't worry, Live Before Lock's coming up next. Anything we missed. Let's just close it out with the Patriots and Pittsburgh. We can't not talk about this game, Ben. Highest total on the slate. And I think Pittsburgh bounces back here after some really ugly losses. It's all you.
Yeah, me too. Big Ben, obviously, I have plenty of exposure there. AB and Juju is one of the hardest every week. You know, I lean to AB, but you know, you want if you're playing a bunch, you want exposure to both. Other than that, you know, the next tier for me, Jalen Samuels and Vance McDonald, if you want to get exposure to the game without paying the premium. And then real quick for me on the other side, you know, the Patriots are the hardest team with so many guys. You know, I think Edelman fits into what they want to do in terms of attacking that Steelers zone, short, quick passes. That's mostly where I went. I don't have as much Gronk as I think other people will. So I'm kind of hoping he comes back to earth a little.
For me, Edelman and AB are the two guys I like most here.
Yep.
We'll close it out. Anyone else in this game you like?
Not really. Like I said, I have a couple Vance McDonald shares, but all in all, I think it's a game where if you're gonna target it, you kind of have to pay for the top end guys.
All right, fair enough. For Ben Rasa, myself, Dave Lochran, it's been fun. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Win some money and hit us with a thumbs up. Subscribe and hit that notification bell if you appreciate our content. We appreciate you. And of course, comment below because it'll give you a chance to win some really cool stuff in our 24 days of giveaway. And maybe we'll see you over there on Yahoo. Use the code AWESOMO, and someone hopefully will take down this top prize with a 10 entry max and a whole lot of overlay. Good luck today, boys. See you back here next Sunday for week 16. All right. Thanks, Tom. Ben, I'll see you, brother. Good luck.